Oh, took me a little while there. I'm bad at English.
Is it because Genocide Jack has a split personality?
Huh?
I think I read that somewhere in the file too. They thought that the suspect might have, what did they call it? Dissociative identity disorder.
Oh, okay. But still, to go and say that about Miss Fukawa is...
Perfectly acceptable. Toko's strange behavior after seeing the body is proof enough that she has a split personality.
The one thing that shows Toko could have a split personality is her behavior's changed.
I got it! You're talking about how she started acting totally different than usual, right?
Yeah, they basically just replaced it with another mental
Right.
disorder.
Think back. She fainted when she saw Chihiro's corpse, and then, when she woke up...
Yeah.
She was acting funny, that's for sure. That melancholy tone of hers completely disappeared.
Don't go assigning adjectives to my tone without permission.
Not to mention, once she regained consciousness and saw Chihiro's body again, she was utterly calm. In other words, within her is one personality that can handle blood, and one that obviously can.
So when Toko trapped herself in her room, it's because she was scared of Genocide Jack?
The reason she locked herself in her room wasn't to keep other people from getting in.
It was so she wouldn't
It was
get
to
out.
keep her other personality from getting out.
What?
Toko was afraid. Afraid of the murderous fiend inside of her. Of killing even more people.
How?
Yeah. How can you know all this?
I do believe you misunderstood her. What she's trying to say isn't, how can you know all this? No. What she wants to know is, how could you tell them?
Huh?
Last night, just before Monokuma gave his motive speech, Toko and I had a strange conversation. She told me a most interesting story. She said a murderous fiend lived within her, and she was afraid it could appear and attack at any time. And that trepidation is what's caused her to have such a bleak attitude. Isn't that right, Toko?
This is all a lie. Right, Toko?
You said you wouldn't tell anyone.
What?
You promised. I can't believe you lied.
You have only yourself to blame. You came to me with your tragic little story. I didn't ask you to. This is the real world, not some romantic fantasy fairy tale. Besides, you broke your promise first. You said that as long as you were here, no matter what, you wouldn't let Genocide Jack kill anyone. But in spite of that promise...
You said if I kept my promise, you would go out with me. That's the only reason I promised.
How many times do I have to tell you? I never said that, but you weren't able to do it. You just couldn't resist that rush you got from killing, could you?
I tried. I swear I tried to control it, but...
But your efforts were useless. What a disappointment.
I hate you.
Well, the opening act is nearly finished. All that's left is to hear from the person in question directly.
The person you don't mean...
A huge thud echoed across the courtroom, but in the next second.
Well, hello there! Is it me you were hoping to see?
What the heck?
So you figured it out, huh? Well, whatever. What are you gonna do? I'm the ultimate murderous fiend, Genocide Jack! Or better yet, let's go with Genocide Jill!
What the fuck is this? Toko, What happened to you?
Not Toko. That's a loser name. And what happened is a textbook split personality. So what if one of them happens to be a serial killer? You should turn a blind eye to one's faults.
Okay, well, that was anticipated.
Like they say, sound in murderous mind, sound in murderous body.
This one is so different from the one we've come to know.
Yes, well, the world is composed of a front and a back, you know. Just like how every inning has a top and a bottom, or how in the depths of every truth lives a little lie. Behind every dark and gloomy soul lives another that shines as bright as the sun!
This is the murderous fiend, Genocide Jack. This is beyond insane.
Miss Jack, Jill, can I ask you a question?
What's up?
Some of us think you might be the mastermind behind our entire situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll tell you, I am the mastermind of all masterminds! Just kidding!
Then it's not true?
Of course it's not true! How dare you try to link me to that creepazoid? And another thing, the police and government and society in the outside world are totally powerless! I mean, they just let this idiotic bloodthirsty maniac go buck wild all over town!
Sure, I'm a bloodthirsty maniac, but life is pain, right? To live is to hurt other people. It's a necessary evil if you want to survive. The act of living itself causes pain for everyone. Just kidding again!
Jesus Christ.
This should be enough to convince you. This murderous fiend is responsible for Chihiro's death. There's clearly a motive, so there should be no doubt.
A motive?
Remember what Monokuma told us? If someone didn't murder and graduate within 24 hours, an embarrassing memory or secret would be revealed. Well, let's assume that Toko's secret was about Genocide Jack. If a secret like that came to light, Toko's life would have undoubtedly been forever ruined.
Yeah.
So she had a very clear motive to never have that side of herself exposed.
Interesting. Very, very, very interesting. But sorry, as much as I hate to admit it, I'm not the culprit.
But I cannot imagine anyone other than you could murder someone in such a bizarre fashion.
Maybe so, but nevertheless, it's the truth.
Do you really expect any of us to believe you?
Yeah, that's...
Yeah. I could never believe
Yeah.
a word you say, you monster.
Maybe she's totally right about that, but something's still bothering me. What she said. I need to get more details out of all this. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the scissors. It seems like a really important thing. Status of the dead body. All of those could be somewhat useful.
Sorry, but I didn't kill anyone.
You say that, but do you really expect any of us to believe it?
Perhaps if you had an alibi, that would change things.
Oh, an alibi, huh? Now we're talking.
When you compare your past murders to this incident, the modus operandi matches completely. What more proof do we need? Give it up. You killed her.
So I think it's the status of the dead body on
Sorry,
what
but I
Byakuya
didn't kill
says.
anyone.
You say that, but do you really expect any of us to believe it?
Perhaps if you had an alibi, that would change things.
Oh, an alibi, huh? Now we're talking.
When you compare your past murders to this incident, the modus operandi matches completely.
Yeah, no.
No, it's wrong. Are the methods of murder really exactly the same? I'm not so sure about that.
It's not.
I think there's a slight difference between the Genocide Jack cases and this one.
Huh? How's it any different?
Uh-oh, you don't know? Well then, human garbage, let me tell you! I murder with passion and conviction. I consider myself a professional, and I have a very particular way of doing things. Imagine you go to a fancy Italian restaurant. They're very picky about the noodles, the sauce, everything. Look at what happened to Chihiro. It'd be like if that same Italian restaurant started using ragu or Chef Boyardee. This is no creation of mine.
Let me rephrase that in a way that maybe makes more sense. There are two clear differences between the Genocide Jack cases and this one.
The fatal injury.
For one, the cause of death is different. In the Genocide Jack murders, all the victims were killed the same way. According to the case file, they were all apparently killed with a pair of scissors. But Chihiro died from a blow to the head, right?
Exactly.
Yes. That is remarkably different from the other murders.
Wouldn't it be strange for someone who kills the same way without fail to suddenly change their method? And there's more. One more conflicting detail.
That's right. In my recipe of murder, if the bloody message is the tortellini, then the arrangement of the body would be the pesto sauce.
Could you please stop comparing killing people to cooking?
So, are you saying the other difference has to do with how the body was arranged?
What was used to suspend her? It was still the scissors.
Do you remember what the killer used to suspend her? They used some kind of rope to hang her up by her wrists.
What is your point?
Well, in all the previous Genocide Jack cases, something else was used to suspend them.
Scissors through the wrist.
Specifically, pairs of razor-sharp scissors.
And guess what? I used my own specially designed scissors for the murders and the arrangement. Like I said, I'm a professional, so naturally I'm very picky about the tools I use. And you know what else? Big Mac said there's two differences, but he's wrong.
Big Mac? Are you referring to me?
Listen up, Big Mac. There's actually one more difference.
Huh.
Huh?
My word, you really didn't notice? Take a look at who the victims were in each Genocide Jack case. There's a pattern there, just waiting to be discovered.
A pattern?
Figure that out, and it'll be plain as death why I couldn't have possibly killed that little lolly girl.
Because Chihiro was a girl.
I got it! Is it because Chihiro was a girl?
Bingo! Bullseye! Right on the money!
What are you talking about?
In all the Genocide Jack cases, all the victims had something in common.
They were all male.
They were all guys?
That's right! The people I kill with such passion and conviction are all adorable little men! I can't believe I said it! I'm so embarrassed!
The hell is wrong with you?
You got a lot of
I'm
things.
just a full-throttle boy-on-boy fangirl, and the mopey side of me just hates it. But now I'm on the fast track to becoming a full-fledged fan madam!
So, since Chihiro was a girl and not an adorable little man, you wouldn't kill her?
Would an Italian chef suddenly start making ramen just because they're both noodles? Don't be stupid. I have too much passion and conviction to cross that line. That's the absolute reality of the one and only.
We get it. You've clearly explained your hobby and your philosophy. But that's not all there is to it. It's a different matter entirely. When you're forced to kill in order to survive.
Quiet, lolly cur!
Lowly? Cur?
I would never kill for a reason as petty as mere survival. And if by some fluke I did kill to survive, why would I bother with the message and arrangement? It'd make me the obvious suspect.
That does make some amount of sense.
Yeah, I don't think it was Genocide Jack.
Plus, whatever reason I have for killing, I would never leave out my prized scissors. Who would go out of their way to use a big, stupid, heavy dumbbell?
Maybe you used the dumbbell because you couldn't find any scissors in the school?
Any scissors? I don't just use any scissors. I only use my own set of high-class envy of the entire world scissors!
Okay, whatever. There still aren't any in the school.
Are you sure about that?
What?
Da-da-da-da!
Where did you get those?
She's fully equipped.
That's right! So I can kill anywhere, anytime! Why would I resort to dumbbells or rope when I have my trusty scissors by my side? Go ahead, tell me I'm wrong! You can't, can you, gutter dogs, all of you! Not to mention, I have no clue how to tie a good knot. So rope's totally out of the question anyway!
I have no idea what's going on anymore. Could such a heinous villain really be innocent?
This time, yes.
But the body really was suspended, right? And nobody but the police knew about that.
So it had to be Byakuya, right?
Yeah. That's why we figured it had to be the real deal, and not some copycat killer or whatever.
Byakuya.
Here's my answer. Byakuya, it's possible you could have found out, isn't it? You'd have no problem gaining access to classified government documents or internal police records. Plus, you'd already looked through the Genocide Jack file.
And he knew
before
about
this
the
all
handbooks.
happened.
Are you saying Mr. Togami did it?
Then, the reason he pushed the theory of Genocide Jack being the killer so hard was because he wanted to pin the crime on her.
Oh, he rearranged the scene to disguise it and make it look like I put my stamp on it. The adorable glasses man was behind it all. Oh, I'm on fire!
Well, Byakuya, what's your response?
I see. So now the suspicion falls on me. Then I must ask, when would you say I began acting suspicious? Surely you must have an answer.
Looking back and thinking about it now, the way you were acting right before we discovered the body was a little strange.
That's just first. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, he specifically said to start with the girls' locker room, which
You
did
wanted
sound
to go
suspicious.
to the girls' locker room right away, right? But since you're a guy,
I should have naturally thought of the boys' locker room first. Is that what you want to say? The victim was Chihiro, a girl. Hence why I said we should check the girls' locker room.
But wait, we didn't know it was
Nothing
Chihiro.
strange about that, I'd say.
But wait,
on the contrary,
there's something very strange. How did you
Okay,
know?
then. What's so strange about it?
How did you know that Chihiro was the
Go
victim?
ahead. Share with the rest of the class.
Oh fucking Christ! Stop adding more things. Truth flashbacks. If you aim at the weak spot and hold down the Y button, then you'll memorize that weak spot. This memorized phrase can only be shot once as a single truth bullet. If you shoot or change the truth bullet, it will disappear from your truth cylinder. However, you can use this flashback feature as many times as you want. If you don't seem to have the right answer or lie, to a lie or contradiction in your loaded truth bullets, it might be wise to memorize a different weak spot and use that to make your case. And when's the best time to flashback? Well, you'll see. Just use your keen wits, won't you? In this case, though, I will say that if you do not use a flashback, you won't be refuting anything. Well, good luck then. Okay. So there's definitely a flashback in this case. So that's not useful.
So, you said Byakuya was acting kind of weird before we found the body. But he was acting weird... how?
If you're presented with the opportunity to check out the girls' locker room,
You absolutely take it. That's a natural reaction for any guy.
The victim was Chihiro, who was a girl. So of course I would suggest we check the girls' locker room first. There was no time for pointless distractions. What's so strange about that?
you wish you'd taken me with you.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. There's a clear contradiction.
So, you said Byakuya was acting kind of weird before we found the body.
What? Really? Oh, I see what I'm supposed to do. I had it backwards. I'm trying to contradict with the wrong
you
thing.
said Byakuya was acting kind of weird before we found the body.
Before we found the
But
body.
he was acting weird... how?
If you're presented with the opportunity to check
Okay, yeah, I just had these backwards, I'm pretty sure.
You absolutely take it. That's a natural reaction for any guy.
The victim was Chihiro.
No, it's
You
wrong.
couldn't have known that Chihiro was the victim before we found the body.
I'll tell you what's so strange about that, because up until we actually discovered the body, we couldn't have known who the victim was. So your claim that you went to the girls' locker room first because Chihiro was the victim doesn't hold up.
I see. That's a good answer, I must admit. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. But your reasoning is still too weak.
Huh?
What's wrong? Is that it? Surely you've got more than that. Go ahead. Show us.
It's like he doesn't even care. Got him cornered, but he's acting like it's got nothing to do with
What's
him.
the matter? You're not finished already, are you? There must be more to
Well,
it.
there's the extension cord.
There is. I think.
There is more to it. Think about it. We just talked about the differences between this case and past Genocide Jack incidents. The proof you're looking for is hidden in there.
Oh? Proof that I'm the culprit, you mean?
Difference between the case. Who's Byakuya was there? Okay, I'm gonna say the desk lamp.
The difference between the cases? You want me to explain it again? When I want to kill, I use my very own special scissors. And I use those same scissors to arrange the body.
Well?
Shoot.
Huh. I need to be very
The difference
careful.
between the cases? You want me to explain it again? When I want to kill, I use my very own special scissors. And I use those same scissors to arrange the body.
But Chihiro was suspended with... It was some kind of rope. Was it not?
That's right! It absolutely was!
Then there must be something very fishy indeed about that rope.
Hey, Byakuya, where'd you get it from, huh?
I've never seen that rope before in my life.
Shit, I hit the wrong button.
No.
Exactly. That's what I was waiting for. Just keep shooting too early. I have to go through the whole
I'm pretty
thing
sure
first.
you have seen it before. Because, you see, that rope, or should I say, that extension cord?
What? An extension cord?
Byakuya, you've used the extension cord in the library more than once, haven't you? And the same extension cord that was in the library all this time went missing after the murder. And there's no way someone who uses that extension cord as much as you do wouldn't discover that fact.
And Byakuya must be the one who took the extension cord. I can't imagine any other possibility.
That's really what you think? Then your conclusion is something like this? I killed Chihiro in the girls' locker room, then hung her up and wrote that bloody message. I intentionally made it look like Genocide Jack was behind it. Is that about right?
Pretty much. He's doing it again. He's totally calm, totally unconcerned. As if he's not even involved. Wait. Not even involved.
What's wrong? I asked you if you think that's what happened.
Hell yes, that's what happened. So that's it, right? Byakuya's the killer.
I don't disagree with not disagreeing.
He kept calling this a game, right? So he'd be totally willing to do something like this to win.
Sorry, but could we hold on just a second? I think we need to talk about this a little more.
Huh? Do we really need to? We've already decided who did it.
I know, but still, there's something that's still bothering you.
Is that right? And what, pray tell, is still bothering you? I killed her in the girls' locker room, then disguised my crime. Specifically, I dressed it up to make it look like it was the work of a homicidal psychopath. What about all that bothers you?
Wait. What was that just now? Something's not right. Byakuya's remarks just now. Something that concerns me.
I got it!
The scene of the crime.
You say you killed Chihiro in the girls' locker room, right? But are you sure about that? Isn't it possible that the murder took place somewhere else?
How disappointing. What kind of question is that? Even in the world of disappointments, this is a true letdown. She was found dead in the girls' locker room. There is absolutely no question about that. How could the scene of the crime have been anywhere else?
Well, I think it's entirely possible that she was killed somewhere else, then carried there later, along with the rest of the murder scene.
The rest of the murder scene? That was awfully specific. Please tell me you have a reason for saying all of that.
I believe I do.
Did I just take you off guard? And the story suddenly moved to the crime scene. Byakuya, who'd been so confident up until now. Maybe Byakuya never even realized that the actual scene of the crime could have been somewhere else.
Hey, don't just move on without permission! What do you mean she was killed somewhere else?
Come on, Makoto. If there's any chance the murder took place somewhere else, let's see the proof.
The evidence that shows that the murder took place anywhere else. There's a few things, but I think the main one would be this one, the two posters.
The proof that she was killed somewhere else is the poster that's hanging in each locker room.
Your proof is some posters?
The poster in the girls' locker room was a picture of a big-boobed supermodel. But don't you think that's kind of strange? Why would the girls' locker room have a poster like that?
Exactly.
I bet those massive jugs of hers were totally fake!
Meanwhile, the boys' locker room had a poster of the super popular boy band Tornado. Again, that doesn't really seem to belong in a boys' locker room.
So you're saying that maybe the posters were switched?
And there's one other thing I noticed about the locker rooms. You know what I'm talking about, right, Sakura?
You're referring to my protein coffee, aren't you?
Protein coffee?
While I was in the girls' locker room earlier, I spilled some protein coffee on the carpet, but I noticed that after the murder, the stain had been totally scrubbed away.
No, it wasn't scrubbed away.
I got it!
The boys' locker room.
The stain on the girls' locker room carpet wasn't scrubbed away. In fact, I found it on the boys' locker room carpet.
That's definitely the stain from my protein coffee.
Then, does that mean that the carpets were switched too? But why would anyone do that?
To move the murder scene from one locker room to the other. It's certainly plausible, don't you think? What? In other words, in order to completely swap the scene of the crime, the blood-stained poster and carpet were moved along with the dead body. By doing this, the killer was able to change the entire room where the murder took place.
I can certainly follow your reasoning, but why would the culprit bother doing that?
Huh?
Why would they go through all that trouble of switching the scene of the crime?
This is a good point. This is one thing I haven't really figured out yet.
An even bigger question. If the murder did take place in the boys' locker
What was
room,
Chihiro doing there?
then how did Chihiro get in the boys' locker room in the first place? To get into the locker rooms, you have to swipe your e-handbook across the card reader device, but Chihiro's handbook should have only allowed her access to the girls' locker room. She had no way to get into the boys' locker room to begin with.
No, she did have a way, and I can tell you what it was.
What?
I highly doubt that.
Shut up! I'm telling you, I know how she could have done it.
Okay. Let's hear it. Boys' locker room carpet, broken e-handbook, 2 locker room posters. It's probably broken
Is
e-handbook.
it really possible? Could Chihiro really have gotten into the boys' locker room somehow?
Ah! I got it! She must have hacked her e-handbook! She was the ultimate programmer, after all. I'm sure that would have been no problem for her.
No, I don't think that's it. She used the thing that was in the main hall.
Huh? What thing?
I'm talking about Leon's handbook, of course.
No,
Broken
it's wrong.
handbook.
No, I don't think Chihiro used Leon's handbook.
Why not?
Because Leon's handbook was
Was
broken.
broken.
Oh. Well, then, yeah, I guess that'd be pretty impossible, huh?
I am struck silent by how quickly you gave up.
Plus, isn't there a regulation against using someone else's handbook?
Actually, the rule states that loaning your handbook is prohibited. It says nothing about borrowing one. In other words, you could borrow a dead person's handbook all you want, and you'd be safe.
Yup. Hit the nail square on the noggin.
Of course, if it were broken, that wouldn't make any sense anyway.
So then, she must have hacked us, like I said. She used her ultimate programmer skills and...
You can't fix an e-handbook. The instant you open one up, a security buzzer starts blaring.
So, if she didn't use Leon's handbook, and she didn't modify her own handbook,
How did she get into
Maybe
the...
Mr. Naegi's initial assumption is just wrong?
It seems like there's no way she could have got into the boys' locker room. So I guess so.
Okay then, I vote for Byakuya.
There's gotta be more. Because they're clearly been swapped.
Hold on a second. I
Okay.
agree with you, though. I think you're on the right track.
Okay.
You finally decide to open your mouth and that's what you've got to say? There's no way she could get in the boys' locker room, right? So,
Why are you so sure she couldn't get in? There's still one other way she could have gained access.
what?
What are you talking about? What other way is there?
Well, to explain that, why don't we take a little break from the trial? I'd like you all to come see something.
Can we do that?
Wait. Just what do you think you're doing?
Don't worry. This'll make the whole trial more exciting. I'm sure that thought must please you.
Huh? It'll make things more exciting? Well, all right then. I declare an official class trial recess.
Okay, that's just the thing we're allowed to do now. Alright.
For real?
Yeah, seriously,
Now
what?
then, what is it you want to show us? It better not be boring or I'll be very unhappy.
Oh, I have no doubt it'll meet your lofty expectations. So, shall we go?
Ugh, I got chills down my spine. What the hell are we doing?